on the YouTube has become very famous, and many people are using the social media, and it's not a very new thing that there's so many motivational videos are available. There's so many knowledge videos are available, informational videos are available. Many saints and sadhus and gurus and sadgurus are coming and giving a lot of type of information and principles of life and this and that. But my dear friend, I made a very important observation that after speaking so much, when people really want to know, okay, what we are supposed to do, then I found that all these people who give big talks, they don't have any practical, activity to give to people to really bring about that change which they are looking for, to really bring about the transmission of information to transformation of heart. Like one very big famous guru was giving a lecture in IIM Ahmedabad, and after his talk, one of the students there asked, okay sir, I heard your lecture, it was very nice, I enjoyed it, so I'm inspired by your talk, so now what I'm supposed to do? And the gentleman who was giving the talk, big personality, he just said, you are a student, just keep studying. The boy asked, that's all? Well, yeah, just keep doing your duties. What else? So in this way, I felt a very great sadness in my heart that people have knowledge, have information, they know so much, but they don't know the key how to apply it. And that's why I feel that on the name of reaching out to people and giving them knowledge, are they really helping them or are they cheating them? So when I thought of starting this Gita Life as a platform to reach out to people and help them understand spirituality, my approach has always remained to be very, very practical and to give people practical tools and techniques by which they can go. And that's why, at the conclusion of every lecture of ours, we say people to chant the holy names of God, to chant the Maha Mantra. Holy names of the God, Krishna, God's holy name is being accepted in all the religions of the world, not only in Sanatana Dharma, or which is known as Hinduism, but even in Islam, Christianity, Judaism, in all kinds of religions. Because only when we are in touch with the Almighty, with the power and the grace which we receive from the Almighty, with that power only we will be able to transform ourselves. And in this dark age of Kali Yuga, where so much hypocrisy, quarrel, fight and such things are there, it is not possible for people to practice difficult practice of spirituality like doing some yagyas, going to forest and doing tapasyas, and even fastings and building temples and doing worship. It's impractical. And that's why the scriptures also say that for the people in this age of modern age, the most simple way to really bring about a change in the heart, to really improve themselves, is simply to chant the holy names of God. And in the Vedic tradition, especially in the age of Kali Yuga, the most powerful medium of approaching God through his name is by reciting the Hare Krishna mantra. As you might have heard in many sessions, even in many temples, the famous mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By regular reciting this mantra, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour every day, you will get that willpower and the strength to transform all the wisdom which we are sharing here into your practical life. And if we are not able to do that, then I don't know how much benefit we will receive from these sessions. Because this is theory, and what you do after the sessions by chanting the holy names of God is the practical. Just like in any science class, there's theory and there's practical. When we go through both the theory and practical, that is the time real learning happens, right? So I felt to tell this right in the beginning of the session so that we know the goal for which we are gathering knowledge, because knowledge has to bring about transformation. Okay. So now, actually by this chanting process, automatically all the favorable qualities and removal of stress and become very happy will automatically come. But still today, in our session, we will see some things which will give us some guideline how we are actually moving forward. Okay. So as you can see here, I will just brief you about within 5 minutes what we discussed last time, in the last week, because there's a part 2 of my stress to smile session. So as you can see here, our topic, converting stress to smile. So if you remember last time I just shared with you a formula of escape stress, ESCAPE and stress. So these are 12 alphabets which denote 12 principles to overcome stress. And I shared the first 6 principles, the escape formula, in my last session. So I'm just showing, as you can see here, the E stands for expectation, give up unrealistic expectations. The second was S, which includes success, redefine your definition of success. We discussed this last time. The next was C, competition, giving up unhealthy competition or comparison. Then the next was A, acknowledging the blessings of God in our life. We discussed it last time. Then we discussed about people's comment. Then don't be overly bothered about what other people say to you and think about you. And the last point which we discussed last time was empathize or tolerate the nature of others. So this is what was our escape formula. And now today we will be discussing briefly about the stress formula to overcome the stress. Okay, so please stay tuned. Let's see how it comes. So STRESS stands for, the first one which I like to share with all of you is S. S stands for see the sunny side of people. See the sunny side of people. You see, my dear friends, every person in this world has two sides, positive and negative. Everybody is a mixture of good and bad. Nobody is completely good, nobody is completely bad. But generally what happens with us is that the tendency is to only see the dark side of people. And when we see the dark side of people, then we don't benefit them, neither we get benefited by them. And that develops a lot of stress, because when we see the dark side of people, we start to think that other people are the cause of my happiness or distress. And we get into a game which is called as the blame game. Yeah? It is famously known as the blame game. We point fingers like this. Why I'm suffering? Because he did me like this and he did me like that. Just like you see, take a difference between a housefly and a honeybee. A fly has a nature that if a fly is going through a garden filled with roses, lotuses, beautiful fragrant flowers, but if in one corner of that garden is some garbage or some filth is lying there, the housefly or the fly will not go to any of the fragrant flowers like roses and lotuses and lilies. It will neglect all of them and will only go and sit on the garbage kept at the corner of the garden, because the fly is attracted only to the garbage or the filth. It will neglect all the beautiful things around. Whereas if you leave a honeybee in a place which is filled with garbage, or a pond which is filled with keychad or dirt, but in that pond if there's only one lotus flower also, the honeybee has a nature that it will neglect all the filth and the dirt around and it will directly go and sit on that lotus to suck the honey. So we can see the difference, that the honeybee looks only for the lotus even though all around is dirt, and the fly looks only for the dirt even though all around there is a lot of beautiful things. Similarly, as you can see, people who don't learn to see the sunny side of people, they see the dark side. It is like the housefly mentality. It is like the housefly mentality. And what happens because of that is people get into BMW mode. You know what is BMW mode? BMW mode means, blaming, mourning and weeping. BMW. BMW is a car, but this BMW everybody have. Maybe, because some people think that someday I may also have a BMW. So you may have someday a BMW car, but this BMW most of the people have in this world. What? Blaming, mourning and weeping. People blame others, they mourn and they weep. like that. Like people start blaming practically everything in their life. They blame the government, they blame the education system, they blame the medication system, they blame their boss, they blame their company, they blame, any and anything and everything. Such people actually cannot live in peace. So, if we learn to see the sunny side of people, we will be able to rise above the blame game. Like that. So, another important thing, which, as you can see here, I have written some points for you. To give up this, blaming tendency is to not make a mole into mountain. What it means to not make a mole into mountain is that, sometimes people are very short-tempered, especially in today's day and age, and for small things, people make it a big issue. People make it a big issue, and they don't mind compromising on their relationships, compromising on their, health, or they just, lose control, and they make small issues into big issues, like that. So that's why it is very, very important for us, as spiritualists or trying to connect to God, that we learn to see everybody as potentially divine. The Bhagavad Gita explains that we are not this body, we are part and parcel of God. My dear friends, do you think God is all good? If somebody is God, he has to be all good. So if God is all good, then we, being God's part and parcel, have to be all good. Like father, like son, as this says. So if God is all good, we are part and parcel, we should also be all good. But then, unfortunately, when we come to this world, just like a raindrop, when it falls from the sky, and as soon as it touches the ground, the pure drop of water becomes contaminated. Similarly, when the living entity, the soul, the Atma, comes from the spiritual world to the material world, it becomes contaminated by the influence of this world. And that is why there is certain bad tendencies in people. But a person with divine vision, a person with spiritual vision, will neglect all these contaminations, because he will know that all these contaminations which the soul have accrued in this world are temporary. Originally, everybody is divine and everybody is pure. So let me see the divine side of people, and let me see the pure side of people, and not the demonic or the bad side of people. It's just like, suppose somebody is very dirty, lot of filth is there, dirt is there all over their body. Now, suppose they go to take a shower. They go to take a shower bath, and now they're taking bath. So when they're taking bath, what will happen? All the dirt from their body will start slowly going down. Now, suppose somebody happens to see them taking shower. The person who is seeing can have two outlooks. The first outlook is, a person can see, oh my God, such a dirty person. See how much dirt is coming out from his body. Very, very dirty person. Or the other outlook can be, oh, just see, he's taking a shower. He's taking a bath. This means all the dirt is coming out, and very soon he's going to become a pure person. He's going to become clean. And we can be happy about it. Similarly, my dear friends, everybody has good side and bad side. It depends on us which side we want to see and which side we want to neglect. If we see the dark side of people, then it's like, telling that you have so much dirt. It's not going to help them. It's not going to help us. It's only going to increase our stress and blaming tendency. Whereas if we see the golden side of people, sunny side of people, divine side of people, then we can, even though they have some problems, we will say, okay, no problem. There's no worries, because they're sincerely trying to overcome their faults. They're sincerely trying to overcome their deficiencies. And very soon, especially if they're connected to God and chanting God's name, they're going to become very good people. So why to see their bad side? That is why in Sanskrit, they say, Yatha drishti tatha srishti. Yatha drishti tatha srishti means, as your vision is, that way the world will appear to you, according to your vision. I remember a very nice story in this regard. Yatha drishti tatha srishti. What happens is, once a man, he went to one valley of gods. there was one valley, big mountains was there, and it is called as the Valley of God. So people have a saying that whoever goes to that Valley of Gods, the gods speak to that person, and they speak many divine words, very sacred sounds. Anybody can hear if they go to this valley. So one curious man, to really know whether the mountains really speak, whether the Valley of Gods really speak, he went to that place and he waited for a long time to hear something divine and sacred from the mountains, but no sound came. So this man became a little angry and impatient he became, and he shouted, "Can't you say something?" And because it was a valley, what the sound came? The reply came, "Can't you say something? Can't you say something? Can't you say something?" And when this kind of echo sound came, the man became even more angry and he shouted back, "How rude of you to shout!" And the reply came, "How rude of you to shout! How rude of you to shout! How rude of you to shout!" Now the man's anger became even more and he yelled, he shouted back more loudly, "I hate you!" And the reply came, "I hate you! I hate you! I hate you!" So the man became utterly frustrated. So he returned back to a nearby village. There he saw one saintly person giving a sermon to the people and telling about the glory of the mountains, the God of the mountains. And when the man heard this sage speaking about the glory of the mountain, the man told, "Sir, wait a minute. I am just coming from there only, and I can tell you whatever you are saying is completely wrong, because the mountain is speaking very, very bad words. It's saying that it hates me and it is shouting on me. So I have a very bad experience. I don't believe what you are saying. If you want to go, you can try and get insulted by the mountain." And the sage simply smiled at the man, and the sage, he took the man. He told, "Okay, you come with me." And when the sage went with the man, as soon as the sage went to the valley, the sage folded his hands and the sage told, "Oh Lord, greetings to you." And the same reply they heard. And then the sage told, "I love you." And the reply came, "I love you, I love you, I love you." Like that. And then the sage told to the man that, "My dear friend, just see, I was respectful and good in my approach toward the God of the mountain, and thus he returned the same goodness to me." My dear friends, this story has a very deep significance and importance in our life. Our life is also like this. Our life is like a mirror. Whatever we give to life, it returns back to us. Whatever vision we have towards life, that's how we see the life towards ourselves also. If we spread love, kindness, cheer to others, we will receive the same thing. And when we see the good side of people, people will see our good side and will neglect our faults. If we see the dark side of people, the people will see our dark side. Even when you show fingers to others, don't forget that the 3 fingers are pointing towards yourselves. Like that. One great personality, he told that if you are finding fault in others, mind that you yourself are honeycombed with a lot of faults. So we should be not very enthusiastic in finding faults in others, but rather we should be sensible and see only the good side. And this itself will reduce a lot of stress, this mindset. So this vision we have to cultivate. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that how a learned person's vision is. He says, Brahmane gavi hastini shuni cheva swapake cha pandita samadarshana. He says, Pandita, a learned person, he sees everybody as divine and everybody is equal. Either he be a cow, a brahmana, a rich man, a poor man, a dog eater, or a very low class man. He tried to see the Atma within everyone. And because Atma is a part of God, everybody is potentially divine. And that's what our first point is. As you can see here, I am showing you one very interesting thing. This is called as the circle of concern versus the circle of influence. Now, what is the circle of concern versus circle of influence is? You see, the circle of influence contains all those items in which you don't have any control. You can only worry about these things. You can keep blaming about these things, but you don't have any control on these things. Like, for example, things are given here, like, like the weather, the economy, what other things of me, past regrets, what my boss thinks about you, the meaning of life, and all this the kind of things. These are called as the circle of concern. Concern means you can keep worrying about them, worrying about them, worrying about them, but you cannot change them. They are completely out of your control. But apart from the circle of concern, inside is the circle of influence. The circle of influence contains those things about which you can do something. You have certain influence over them. You can change. Like, some examples are given here, like interaction with others. You can decide which kind of speech you want, what kind of interactions you want to have with others, and your how well you want to be prepared for something, your exercising level, volunteering time, and we can put many great lists in this two kind of circles. But the point is that people who are effective in their life, people who are great leaders, they expand on the circle of influence and try to contract and eventually remove only the circle of concern. Whereas people who are not very astute and they always flow with the life without well planning, they expand the circle of concern, and by expanding the circle of concern, they become victims of the situations of life, and they just keep blaming. Oh, this is not correct, that is not correct, government is not correct, education system is not correct, medical system is not correct, parents are not correct, teachers are not correct, spiritual people are not correct, everybody else is not correct except me. Only I am the person who is correct. So this kind of situation people get, and when they get like this, how can they improve? So we should not expand the circle of concern, we should expand the circle of influence. Try to work on those things which you can improve on, and that itself will reduce your stress levels. And one of the things in that is try to work on seeing the sunny side of people. So now let's move on to our next, my next point. As we can see, S stands for see the sunny side of people. Next is life is like a train journey, T. Life is like a train journey. Now, my dear friends, this principle is a very important principle. I will say the most important principle among all the principles which I am sharing, that I believe almost all of you must have definitely traveled in a train, either local train or a passenger train. So you see, our life is also like a train journey. You see, when you travel in a train, sometimes the journey is very comfortable. Sometimes the journey is very, annoyed and disturbance. Like, it had happened that, sometimes for emergency sake, I have to travel in general compartments also. So sometimes the general compartment jam packed, and there are all kind of people there, and the environment is very disturbing. A lot of hawkers are passing by. You cannot have peace of mind. The toilet doors are open and stinking badly, and you are just sitting in a very uncomfortable position. I have traveled like that. I don't know how many of you have traveled in general also. And then sometimes people invite us through AC bogie also. So we have traveled in AC coaches also. And that time the journey is very comfortable. You have your own seat. There's no external disturbances. It's soundproof, and the people are also very nice around. The toilets are very clean at the AC coach, right? So there's a lot of comfort. Similarly, my dear friends, in our life also, life brings both kind of situations in front of us. Comfortable situations, luxurious situations, and also uncomfortable situations where we can become very tense and frustrated about. So the principle of life is like a train journey. How it is going to help us reduce stress? That, friends, if we just learn to understand how this life is going to go in this world. When people have wrong expectations from life, people when they have expectation that life is going to be a bed of roses, and life will always give me good fortune, and life should never bring any misfortune, then that is going to generate stress. Just like we enjoy going through the good times of life, similarly, when the bad times of life comes, that time also we should not become upset and morose. We should rejoice in going through it and learning various principles, like that. And how we will be able to go through difficult circumstances, uncomfortable circumstances in our life, just like the uncomfortable train journeys or any other journeys, if we know the higher purpose of life. What is the higher purpose of life? As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that this life, this particular life, is only one life in our millions of life. Huh? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Natvevaham jatunasham natvane janadipa. Krishna is saying that, my dear Arjuna, don't think that this life is the only life you are living. You have lived many, many lives, and many, many lives you are going to live. So when we forget that we are not the body, we are soul, we think that this life is all in all. And then we take the success and failures, the comforts and discomfort, the luxuries and the facilities of this life very, very seriously. And sometimes we become too stressed up and too bogged up about, making situations according to our plan. And in that we become very stressed out. On the contrary, if we understand this principle from the Bhagavad Gita, that this life is not all in all, my success and failure in this life is temporary. It's not that everything I have to achieve in this life only. If we understand this principle, we can be very, very peaceful and calm in our mind. Because, my dear friend, life is eternal. Life is not temporary. When you die, your body dies. But you are not the body, you are soul. So you not die. You go ahead. According to our karma in this world, good and bad situation comes. But if we live our life in such a way that we remove bad karma, we perform divine karma, then after this life we have much more. We have a life after death also. But there's no information in today's world about that. And that's why people suffer a lot. And people think, I have a very limited time. I have only 60, 70 years to live. And in the 60, 70 years, I have to achieve everything. I have to learn, I have to grow, I have to become famous, I have to do everything, and they become very stressed out. Like that. But stay calm. Nothing is going to end by the end of this life. Because you are not this body. And I would like to show a very nice video to you. This video is about one fly. The fly who has a lifespan of only 1 minute. And this life of this fly is exactly like our life when you don't have this understanding. Please see this video. So my dear friends, you saw, this is called a 1 minute fly. He has a long list of things to be achieved in that 1 minute of life. He has a long list of things to achieve. Don't you think that our life is also like that? How many items do you have in your list which you want to finish before this life? And you saw how that that fly became very tensed because her entire focus was on finishing the list. Similarly, same thing happens with people, when people become too much worried about, I have to do this. So much I have to do in one life only. They'll be desperate like this and they will die. Everybody will die one day, but we can all be relaxed, by understanding this principle from Bhagavad Gita. This life is not all enough. That's why, as you can see here, I've written some points for you, that keep the eternal life in the eye of your mind. Our real life is in the spiritual world, in the kingdom of God, which is eternal. A life where you never die, a life where you never become old, a life where you never get diseases, a life where you never take birth. You have a spiritual body, you are eternal. And for that, remember the temporary nature of this world. This world is temporary, this life is temporary. So don't take too much tension, be relaxed. It's like a train journey. Our karma will bring good and bad situations. Go through them. Try to do, whatever best you can. And as you can see, the point number 3, that this life is only a station. It's not destination. What it means, like sometimes, sometimes we go to railway station and we stand on a station and we can become very annoyed by the bad smell which may be coming on the station of the rats and the stool lying here and there. And we can be very, very annoyed and disturbed that why the station is so dirty. But we can, we remain peaceful by thinking the fact that, okay, anyways, this is one of the station. It's not my destination. In few minutes, my train is going to come and I'm going to go away from this place. Same approach we can give to life. If you feel that your life is very troublesome, you're not happy in your life, you're not getting what you want, then don't feel bad, because this life is only one life. You try to understand the principle of Bhagavad Gita, try to live it as best as you can, but then don't take tension, because this is only one life. It's going to go. Your destination is further ahead, which is the spiritual world. So don't get stuck up in just one life and be too much stressed and worried about. And that's why always keep your focus, as the last point says, on the eternal life, which is our real destination, a life beyond the cycle of birth and death. That was our second point. Let's move on to our next point, which is called as the right thinking. STR. So R stands for right thinking. Now, what is the right thinking about what? Right thinking about past, present, and future. We need to have a right understanding of how we should see the present, past, and future. You see, we all must have experienced that when you see children are very amazing people, is it not? They're very carefree, they're very jolly, they're very happy, they're just going around playing. Have you seen children being stressed? Have you seen children, catching their head and sitting like this? No, children are always very jolly and happy. You know why? Because they don't worry about past and future. They don't lament for the past and they don't worry about the future. They live in the present. And why they can do like that? Because children give all their worries to parents. They don't have any tension. They give all their worries to parents and they live very happily and jolly in the present. But you see, only grown-up people, like all of us, we lament about the past and we worry about the future. And that worry takes away all our happiness and jolliness and peace of mind. And we always expect that, I want this in my life, that in my life. So what happens? See, when you want something in life, and if you don't have something in life, you lament. Why? Because I don't have. Now, suppose you get what you want, then you develop a fear. Oh, I should not lose it. And then suppose you don't lose it, then, and you have it, then you become proud. I have this. And you try to show to others. And then finally you lose it, then you lament, oh, I lost it. So you see, in any stage of our life, this kind of thinking about, getting something, accumulating things in this world, always going to, one of the prime reasons of our stress is that, we think that we will become happy by accumulating things, accumulating possessions, getting more and more things at our disposal. And no matter, my dear friends, how much you may not have, you are never going to become satisfied. This is the nature of this world. You are never going to become satisfied. The nature of this world is the more you have, the more you need. The more you have, the more you think that you need more. And then you get more, then you think, I need more. Then you get that, then you think I need more and more and more and more. And it's an unending process. And in our struggle to get what we don't have, we don't even enjoy what we have. In our struggle to get what we don't have, we don't even enjoy what we have. Like that. So, in this way, people get into two kind of mode. They lament for their past, or they brood over their past mistakes. Why I did this, why this happened, oh, it should have not happened like that. People brood over their past mistakes like that. For example, some people think, like some software engineers, they think, oh, if I would have been, in some other profession, how nice it would have been. Why I became a software engineer? I should have not gone in this line. They think like this and unnecessarily they get tension. Similarly, somebody is a married man, he thinks, oh, I should have married a more beautiful wife than her. Or, women think, oh, I should have chosen a more richer partner, a more richer man with more salary than this man. He's not able to provide all my needs. And there's a brood over the past, and we lament about the past. Like that. So my dear friend, this can bring stressful situation in front of us. And that's why, as you can see here, that we should not regret for the past. Don't regret about the past. Past is the past. We should not waste our valuable energy in brooding over the past. Because can you bring the past back to today life? If you cannot do that, then why to worry about it? But one important thing which we can do, as you can see in the point number 2, that although you can forget your mistakes which you have done in the past, but please don't forget the lessons which the past mistakes have taught you. And then try to improve. Why? Because you see, sometimes in our life we come across the situations which we have faced in the past also. Like suppose we have a tussle with some other person in the past, then it may happen that we may have to deal with that person again. And then when you have to deal with that person again, then previously you might have not behaved properly. So now learning from your past mistake where you have not behaved properly, this time you can learn to behave properly while dealing with the same person. Otherwise, again you may become angry and again you may commit a blunder. So we may forget our past mistake. Don't brood over them much. Why this happened, that happened, why I committed that mistake. But you can learn the lesson. If you have suffered failure in your life, then don't too much be bothered about, oh, I got failed. But then you learn the lesson why you got failed. Maybe you have not put it enough efforts in preparing. Maybe you have not taken the right approach. Maybe you have not consulted with experts. So there can be a number of reasons. Try to find out that and try to improve. Simply worrying about the past is not going to have. And the most important formula here is that please have faith that God knows best. Sometimes, despite our trying everything best in our life, sometimes situations just go beyond us, uncontrollable. So sometimes we are not able to understand why it happened. I tried my best, I given my best, but still this situation happened in my life. Why? People ask the question, why? So my dear friends, we may or may not know why, but one thing we should know, that God knows best. And God is arranging every situation in my life to bring about a better future. And I should have trust on God, that whatever He will do good for me. He will never do bad for me. And to prove you this, I would like to show a nice video, a small one, but a very important one. Please watch it, you will enjoy it.
Every time he saw thousands of devotees coming to take darshan of the Lord, he thought to himself,
the Lord is standing all the time giving darshan. He must be feeling very tired. Oh Lord, your feet must be aching. I want to help you. At least for one day, can I take your place so that you can have some rest?
Thank you, my dear. It is very nice of you, and I don't mind taking a break. But how will you take my place?
It's simple. You change me to look like you and change yourself to look like me.
Okay. I'll transform you like myself. But there is one condition. You must just stand here like me, smile at everyone and give blessings. Never interfere with anything and do not say anything. Just watch everything and be a witness.
The sweeper agreed to this and exchanged places with his Lord. The next day, a rich man came to pray.
Oh Lord, please bless me. My business should go on well.
While leaving the temple, the rich man forgot to take his briefcase, which was full of money. Just then, a poor man came into the temple.
Oh Lord, please accept this coin, as this is all I can afford. bless me to be engaged in your service always. My family is hungry and my heart is leaking. I need some help from you.
When he opened his eyes, he saw the briefcase left behind by the rich man. The poor man thanked the Lord for his kindness and generosity and took the briefcase. At that point, a sailor walked in.
"Oh Lord, I'm going on a long trip. Please bless me so that I have a safe journey."
Just then, the rich man came in with the police.
There, he is the thief who stole my briefcase full of money.
Hey, did you think you could run away after robbing this gentleman? Come on, tell me where's the money?
"I did not steal anything, sir. I don't have any money with me."
Then you must have given it to your friend who must have run away by now. Come with us to the police station.
"Dear Lord, you know I am innocent. Why am I being punished then?"
Thank you, Krishna. You are the one who helped us catch this thief.
The sweeper, in the form of the deity, could no longer tolerate the situation. He had to speak up now to save the sailor.
Stop! You're making a mistake. It was not this sailor who took the money. It was a poor man who came here before him.
Who is that speaking?
Here, I am God speaking.
This person is not only a thief but also a clever cheat. He is tricking us into thinking that the idol is speaking. Arrest him, quick!
The sailor was arrested and taken away. The sweeper felt very sad. In the evening, Krishna returned to the temple.
My dear, how was the day?
I thought it would be easy, Krishna, but it was difficult. I tried to do a good thing, but man does not seem to have actual faith in God at all.
The sweeper then told Krishna about the happenings of the day and how a sailor had been unfairly punished for the crime of the poor man.
Oh dear, why did you not stick to the plan? Don't you have faith in me? Do you think that I do not understand the hearts of all those who come here? The rich man had money which he had got by cheating someone. It does not belong to him. On the other hand, the single coin offered by the poor man was the only coin he had, but he gave it to me with full faith. The sailor might not have done anything wrong, but if he had gone in the ship today, he would have died because of bad weather. Instead, he is alive and safe now in the jail. Soon the police will apologize to him and release him.
I did not know all this.
I have a good plan for everyone's life. But because your faith in me is shaky, you try to do things on your own. Don't do that. Just trust me.
For everything that we see around us, God has a plan. We need to trust His wisdom and accept His will.
My dear friend, you saw, although it's a very simple video, but a very instructive video. This video talks about that, as we saw in the end, that God has a plan for everyone. And that's why there's no point brooding over our past mistakes or brooding our past things which might have happened in our life, because God knows why they have happened. Just like I had a nice example, like how many of you have seen your mothers making embroidery when you were a small boy? Like I've seen when I was very small, my mother was once making embroidery on a sweater, So I saw that the embroidery from the below. So when I was looking the embroidery from the below, it appears that, she's just wasting her time. Just putting some threads from here to there. It appeared all a messy situation, But then when you see from the embroidery from the top, you can come to know that actually she is not wasting her time. She is making a very beautiful design, a design of a beautiful rose, on the embroidery, right? So when you see from your angle of vision, the embroidery may appear as a mess, all the threads, red, white, green threads going all around. It's a messy situation. Similarly, when we try to see life with our limited vision, life can appear to be a big mess. But when you try to understand God's vision, then you can understand the full picture of life and how God is arranging a beautiful plan for all of us. And that's why we need to have faith on God. So as I told you, we should not brood over past mistakes. And the next point is that we should not too much worry about the future also. As you can see here, some points that don't daydream about the future. As I told, we should live in the present. So neither regret for the past nor daydream about the future. So you see how people daydream. So as I'm saying here, that get away from the 5 P's that pinch you. What are the 5 P's? The 5 P's stand for penny, pleasure, people, position, and possession. Penny represents money. Pleasure represents, all the pleasures of this world. Nice items, luxuries, facilities. Then people means followers. Position means some big position. And possession means things. So everybody wants these 5 things in their life. People want money, people want followers, people want position, people want things, and people want to enjoy sense gratification or pleasures of this world. And in order to do that, people keep worrying about, will I get this in future? Will I get that in future? Will this thing will be mine? And then, that takes away their peace of mind. And that is why we actually have to, when we are learning spirituality, the fundamental principles of spirituality is learning to be content and satisfied with your present lot, what God has given to you, and then gradually make progress to get further. Simply by daydreaming, nothing is going to happen. Like I heard a nice story in this regard. That, once there was one milkmaid lady. She used to have milk from her cows, and she used to go in neighboring villages to sell the milk. So while she was going to the village to sell the milk, she started, thinking a lot and started daydreaming. Oh, I will sell this milk. And then, after selling this milk, I will get some money. And with that money, I will purchase some hens and chickens. And then, the hens, they will give egg. And then I will go in the market and sell that eggs. And then I will get more money. With that more money, I will purchase more hens. And in this way, I will make my own poultry farm. And then I will have many, many hens. And then in this way, I will become a very rich lady. And then I will purchase one land and I will grow crops on that land. And then I will become landlady. And then because I have so much money, I will wear a costly dress. I will do makeup. And I will look very attractive. And then many, many men will come to ask for my hand in marriage. And when they come to ask for my hand in marriage, I will say no to them like this. So she was daydreaming, saying no. And while she was saying no, the milk which she was carrying on her head, it fell off from her head. Because she was doing no, I will say no to them. So all her dreams, which she was thinking, I will do this, do that, got spoiled just like that milk. So this is what happens when we daydream. Daydreaming leads us to nowhere. See, there's nothing to make wrong with making plans. We should make plans. Even the devotees of God also make plans. But when we make plans, there's a very important factor we should know while making plans. We should know that although I can make plans, although I can try to put my best and efforts, but without the sanction of God, nothing can happen. I can do my part, but unless God sanctions, what I'm trying to do, I cannot achieve. You see, so many students sit for IIT exam, IIM exam. Do everybody gets? No. So everybody is working hard, but not everybody gets the same result. Because there are various other factors are working. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that behind every action, behind every success, there are 5 factors. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha pratyagdrsha. Like the 5 factors Krishna explains. Out of the 5 factors, our efforts and our endeavors is only 1 factor. This means our contribution to our success is only 20%. Remaining 80% is not under your control. There are various other factors. Like that. So there's no point of daydreaming and no point of becoming proud also if you get success, because ultimately we should know our endeavor is only 20%. Without the sanction of God, we cannot get success in our life. So how we work, just like if you are a student, you write your exam and teacher gives the mark. When you go to a company, you work for the company and the company gives you salary. Or you sit for interview and the interview panel gives you the result to select you or not. So in any field of life, my dear friends, life is a two-way phenomena. It's not one way, which means we have to do our endeavor and then the God's sanction is also required. Those people, so people go to either of the extremes, Some people think that everything is based on our efforts only. Our hard work, we will attain success. They are fools. बेवकूफ है वो. क्यों? Like some people say, Dhirubhai Ambani was working in a petrol pump and he became Dhirubhai Ambani. Do you think by working on petrol pump you can become Dhirubhai Ambani? If that is the case, then leave your IT jobs and join in some petrol pump. Can you do that? Simply by working on petrol pump, you don't become Dhirubhai Ambani. There are various other factors. So simply by our own efforts, we don't attain success, my dear friends. Similarly, there are other extreme people who think that, oh, if God wants, he will give me success. No, that is also not correct. God wants us to do our part. Although it is only 20%, but still we have to do our part. God helps those who help themselves. And that is why the saying goes that do your best and leave the rest on God. But do your best. And don't compare with others that, he is doing this much, he is doing this much, she is doing this much. No, you do your best and then let God give the result. And whatever results God gives, you can be very peaceful and happy about it. That's the point. Moving on to our next point of reducing stress, as you can see here, is give up the false ego. Give up the false ego means that give up being too much proud about your accomplishment. As you can see here, a very famous quotation by Einstein, that the more the knowledge, the lesser the ego, lesser the knowledge, more the ego. See, generally what happens in this world, people who have more knowledge, they generally become egoistic. They think, oh, we know so much. We are like this, we are like that. But actually, that knowledge may be intellectual knowledge or IQ, which may make a person proud. But actually, real knowledge makes a person humble. Real wisdom makes a person humble. Just like a tree laden with many fruits is always bending. Similarly, true knowledge makes a person humble, not proud. And what happens, when people are proud now, they think that they boast about themselves. They think, I was the first one to do it. Nobody else can do it. I am the only one who can do it. Everybody else is lesser than me. I am the best. I am the greatest. I am God. Like this people say, And people get into a very, on a very wrong path of trying to prove themselves. How I'm better than others, because they're too egoistic. They cannot tolerate somebody else going ahead of them. In fact, at one point of time, they start competing with God only. They say, I want to become God, or I am only God. How foolish it is, just think about it. And the greatest foolishness about trying to show our egoistic tendencies is that, we get into activities to prove ourselves, to show ourselves, to do show off, that we end up doing things which are very harmful for us. Sometimes people try to prove themselves, they get into daredevil acts and they lose their life only. As you can see one video here, that people try to show off their how I am very great, and in their trying to show off, they lose their life only. See. Not this one, next one. Stop this. This I already showed you. Next one you can show.
他已经做好了准备活动，两个眼睛紧紧地盯着这棵树。
So you saw how the tree fall. The tree fall was shown. You can once more show. I think it was not shown properly, no? Why was not? You can show once.
下一则新闻是今天下午进行的中原总决赛，大家都在观看着、等待着这一个激动的时刻的到来。啊，这位选手他已经做好准备了，大家报以热烈的掌声。他已经做好了准备活动，两个眼睛紧紧地盯着这棵树。
You saw, my dear friends, the man was trying to show I'm very powerful, I can hold a very big weight. So the lesson is, when you try to show off yourself because of false ego, this is what people can get into, So please understand that God is not our competitor. Unfortunately, although we may not speak it very oftenly or very frequently or very outwardly, but somehow or other, we live our life in such a way that we think that God is our competitor and I want to become God, or I want to become the most famous or the most beautiful, the most attractive person. This means indirectly we are trying to say that I want to become God only. If you understand that you are not God, you are part and parcel of God, you are a co-worker with God, you are a subordinate to God, then you can live your life very peacefully, without trying to show off to others and trying to get in such troubles and losing your own life. Like that. All the time is almost over. I just like to show you 2-3 more slides to just cover our points. We are almost done with the session. So this was about ego. So as I saying, there are some points, as you can see, that don't be driven by selfish motives of name, fame, prestige, position. Don't try to prove, but try to improve the quality of your life and recognize the true position as servant and co-worker of God. The next one is very simple for you to understand. Don't stress to impress. As you can see in the picture itself represents here, people in today's world, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they keep their hairstyle, the way kind of habits they have, a lot of, people go into a impressing zone and does not help actually. One nice story I would like to tell, a funny story, but very nice. That, once there was a man who learned 3 words in English. He actually came from a village, but because he wanted to, impress others, so he learned 3 English words. The 3 English words were yes, no, and very good. So whomever he used to meet, although he don't know English, but he talks by saying, if anybody talks something, he says yes, no, very good. Although, he doesn't know the meaning of that, he doesn't know the context in which people are talking, but he just say like that. So once what happened, in the neighboring town, in his town, in the neighboring house, one big thievery happened. Some thieves attacked the house. And because of that thievery, many people were called for investigation. So when this particular man was called, he was thinking that, I will speak some English and I will fool the police. I will try to impress the police. And then what happened? The police asked the question, were you a part of the robbery and the stealing in the house? And the man told, yes. And the police, oh, really? And then the police asked the question, are there some more people with you who helped you to rob? And he told, no. And then the police told, oh, this means he is the only person who stole who did the robbery in the house. Arrest him immediately, take him to jail. And the man was shouting, very good. And when the police was coming to catch him, the man was shouting, very good, very good, very good. So you see, he was trying to impress with these 3 words, yes, no, and very good. But these 3 words only took him into trouble. And that's what exactly happens with people who try to go into impressing zone. So don't stress to impress others. Live a natural life, live a healthy life, live a cool life, And, when we will not be able to impress others, when we follow these principles in our life, as you can see here, that, see, when you try to impress others, now what happens? Externally, people may say that, oh, you are very nice, you are wearing a very nice dress, you have a very nice car, but internally people feel envy towards you. Like suppose, if one of you gets a promotion in your company, and if your colleague comes to know, then externally he or she may come and congratulate you. Oh, congratulations, you got promotion, very nice. But inside, they are burning. And they were thinking, how this fool got a promotion? How this muff got a promotion? Surely he must have put it butter to the boss. Huh? Like this the thing. So by showing off to others or by impressing others, we earn the heart's burnings of others, not the heart's blessings of others. And that is why, instead of getting into this impressing mode, we should learn to act for the pleasure of God. Like, once there was, Akbar. Akbar was a very famous king in the history of India. So Akbar had one musician in his court. His name was Tansen. So this Tansen was a professional singer and used to sing for Akbar. So once Tansen took Akbar to one sage. So Akbar went with Tansen to meet that sage, and that sage was sitting under a tree, and he had a very simple instrument, one tanpura, and the sage was singing a very beautiful, melodious, devotional song in the feelings towards God. He was singing. And that song touched the heart of Akbar so deeply. Akbar had tears in his eyes. And Akbar told Tansen, you are such a beautiful singer. You sing so beautifully, but I never get tears in my eyes listening to your singing. Why so? And here is this sage is such a simple man, but I'm getting tears. And Tansen replied, my dear sir, that is because the sage or the sadhu, he only sings for the pleasure of God. That's why he sings with devotion. And because he sings with devotion, that devotion touches the heart of everyone. Whereas I sing for you because you pay me money. So there is no devotion in my singing, like that. So this story teaches us that when we do things for the pleasure of God, not for impressing our society or friends or colleagues or boss, no, not for impressing them, but for the pleasure of God, when we act in this world naturally as best as we can, then when God is pleased with us, our hearts will be very, very satisfied. Otherwise, if we try to go to impress other people, we can never be satisfied. Like that. And my last point, my dear friend, here, which I would like to present you, is this. Sublimate your desires. Don't express them. Don't suppress them. Sublimate them. There's no doubt that each of us has unlimited number of desires in life. We want to achieve many things, want to do many things. Is it not? But what will happen, my dear friends, if you try to just express all your desires, try to go headlong, want to fulfill all your desires, then that will take away a lot of your energy. And in order to enjoy everything what you want to enjoy, your body itself is limited, your mental capacities are limited, and we may not be able to do all the time. We may get exhausted. And at the same time, suppressing the desire is also not correct. Many times people feel that spirituality is about suppressing your desires, but that is a misnomer. That is not correct. In spirituality, we never teach people to suppress their desires, because suppressing our desires can create a psychological disorder. People can go psychic, people can go crazy, people can go mad when they try to artificially suppress their desires. So, trying to suppress our desires can create a psychological disorder. At the same time, try to fully express our desires, and headlong going and doing whatever we just want to do without control. It's like pouring ghee into fire. The more you pour ghee into fire, the fire will keep increasing. You will never experience satisfaction. We will never experience satisfaction. The hankering will keep increasing. As you can see in this video, which I am to see, the last video of today's session, very interesting, and then you will be able to understand what it means by sublimating desires and how expressing our desires is not the solution. Please see it. my dear friends, this is what happens when the desires go out of control, because the nature of desires in this world is, such that you try to get something, then you want more, and then you want more. Like, for example, you have a particular model of mobile with you, and you saw one new latest model of mobile came in the market. Then you try to earn more money and try to get that. By the time you get that model, you will find some other new model is coming. And then whatever model you have with you, you becomes upset that, now I want that one. And then you try to go there, and then you want next one. So, trying to express our desires is like pouring ghee into fire. It's an unending greed and suppressions also. That's why the solution as we are presenting here is, as you can see, is sublimate desires. Sublimate desires. Sublimate desires means what? That, just like, the example of camphor can be given here. That, like, a camphor, if you keep in air, the camphor will automatically dissolve. It will sublimate in the air. Is it not? Like that. So, actually what is troubling us is this desires to enjoy this world only. Whereas the Bhagavad Gita's principle is that we need not to give up our desires, but we need to transfer our desires from material desires to spiritual desires. We need to spiritualize our desires. We need to transform their direction towards God, and then everything in our life will become divine. In this regard, I remember a very nice story, or the pastime of one very great king named Ambarish. This Ambarish was a very great king, Ambarish Maharaj, but at the same time was a great devotee also. So what this king did, he utilized all the faculties of his life in the service of God. Because why I'm saying this is very, very important. People have a wrong notion that spirituality teaches them inactivity. People have a wrong notion that spirituality teaches them don't utilize your senses, don't utilize your mind, don't utilize your talents. It's a very great misconception. If spirituality teaches you how you can utilize everything for the service of God and for the right purpose. Like this Ambarish, King Ambarish, he used to utilize everything for the purpose of God. There's a very beautiful shloka which comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayor vacham sivai kunta gunanuvarnane karo harer mandira marjanadishu shrutim chakarachyuta satkathodaya mukunda lingalaya darshanadrisho tadabhritta gatra sparsha anga sangamam grahanam tatatpaj saroja saurabam Srimat Tulasya tadarpite Pado Rishikesha Padanu Sarpane Shiro Rishikesha Padabhivandane Kamam Tudasya Natu Kama Kamyaya Taduttama Shloka Janaya Shaturati. The beautiful Sanskrit shlokas coming in Srimad Bhagavatam explains about how King Ambarish Maharaj employed each of his senses in the service of God. With his mind, he always thought about the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. With his hands, he utilized it in cleaning the temple of the Lord or in serving the Lord. With his eyes, he took the beautiful darshans of the Lord. With his ears, he heard the beautiful katha and the kirtans of the Lord. With his tongue, he chanted the holy names of God and tasted the prasadam of the Lord. With his nose, he smelled the flowers offered to the Lord and the tulsi which is offered to the Lord. With his feet, he utilized them to walk to the temple of the Lord. In this way, every part of his body and every part of his life, he utilized in transforming it towards God. So my dear friend, Krishna consciousness of spirituality is such a beautiful process that the way it helps us to remove our stress and make us happy is not simply by, inactivity or sitting at one place and, closing our eyes and doing some idle meditation. No, not at all. Spirituality is a very dynamic reciprocation of love and service towards God, in which we all have the opportunity to utilize all our faculties in a positive direction of love and service, and with the right understandings of the principles which we saw today. Seeing the sunny side of people, understanding the life is temporary, this particular life, but the soul is eternal. The soul is eternal, life is temporary, which is like a train journey. Then right understanding of past, present and future. Then giving up the false ego, not thinking ourselves to be very big, understanding our real position as part and parcel of God, and not trying to stress to impress others, and ultimately to sublimate our desires. If we understand these principles and combine it with devotional activities, especially the chanting of the holy names of God, which I told in the beginning of my talk, chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these principles combining with chanting of the holy names, reading of the scriptures, associating with saintly people, life can become much more better, divine, sublime, and meaningful. So with these words, I would like to end here, and I like to hand over to Paras. And if there are some questions, then if time permits, we can discuss. But because I feel today the session has been a little bit long, so Paras, you can decide what you would like me to do.
Thank you, Prabhu, for such an enlightening session. And I think, yeah, it's been so long that I hope, I feel that participants must be, they are wondering like when it's going to finish. So maybe we can answer and we can write them personally for their questions. And we'll be recording answers and we'll be sharing with you. Like we have been asked by, yeah, so many people have asked. So Ganesh have asked. So like that. So we'll be answering them personally. So now this brings our completion of course 1 today.
I have one suggestion, Paras, to you.
Yes.
Maybe next session you can plan only a question answer session. Okay? Because now we have finished the course number 1. And from the next weekend we'll be starting the course number 2, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So before we start the course number 2, for the course number 1, we can have a question answer session next weekend. Or you can plan and you can let me know. So, and you can ask all our friends. So whatever questions they have from whatever sessions they attended, we can give exclusive time for questions in the beginning. And then if time permits, we can move on to the next session. Okay? Go ahead.
That is actually a great idea. You said rightly. So we'll be conducting a session for question answer especially next time. And now the session the course has concluded. So what is next? So we are starting a new batch next weekend, and we kindly request each and every one of you to please reach out to your friends, colleagues, and family friends. And if you feel that you got benefited with this program, please try to connect with as many people as possible and spread the word around. After all, sharing is caring, and it ultimately doubles our happiness. So, and sessions for new batch will be organized and conducted on Saturday evenings, 6 p.m. For them, we will be starting course 1, which we have just now concluded. That is diversifying your happiness portfolio, which we have finished. And the next weekend, we will be starting our course 2, that is the spirit behind spirituality. So I'll just quickly. So the spirit behind spirituality deals with few interesting topics like, do I live more than once, which basically holds the concept and brings reincarnation. And the second is accepting holy books, not blind faith. The third one, goal of human life, higher dimensional science, seeking the essence behind externals. So these are going to be a few wonderful topics of our course 2, upcoming course 2. And friends, we have come this far, completing our course 1. Up till now, we have heard about various principles from Bhagavad Gita. And for conclusion, about putting God in center of our activities, we should actually daily chant his names and read holy texts like Bhagavad Gita and hear from saintly people, as already we are doing, and learn the dynamics that how to lead a better life, happy and prosperous life. Chanting has been described across so many so many ancient texts as the backbone of one's spiritual life. So chanting alone can do wonders, and it brings a lot of peace and sanctity. So my dear friends, please take the advantage of this platform and chant the holy name of Lord. Simply to chant, you have to chant audibly, distinctly, and hear attentively the mantra, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this mantra you have to chant audibly, distinctly, and hear attentively. And please let us know that how many minutes you have chanted for the day through the link which my friend Tushar or Praveen will be sending in the chat now. And so those who are chanting for a maximum number of minutes, their names will be highlighted in our website under the page named Wall of Fame. Also, the top few chanters will be getting special prizes at the end of challenge. So which will be sending to them personally through courier facility. So I request all of you to please take part in this auspicious activity to begin with, and remembering Lord in our mind and heart. So please don't forget to fill your minutes of chanting in the form. Also, I told you about the set of wisdom books. So I'll just like to share that with you all. So this is the set of books, which includes Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is the basis of everything, and other small books which holds and gives and throw more light on the principle described in Bhagavad Gita, science of self-realization, life comes from life. So you all can write to us in our mailbox, that is GitaLife at the info@gmail.com, and contact which I have already provided in the chat box. And so these are the books. Please feel free to contact us. Books are of course basis of our understanding, so please do read these books. These are very helpful in our in building our spiritual understanding. And next, coming to next point, as I have already told in beginning about Janmashtami celebrations, please participate in the events online by taking part in variety of competitions. So variety of so many competitions are there, like as I have already told. So I'll be sharing the post. Painting competition, sloka recitation competition, essay writing, Krishna quiz, temple decoration, and many other activities we will be doing online, like kirtans, bhajans, video shows, pastimes of Krishna, and darshans, wonderful darshans, and like that. So it will be starting 12 August, 8 to 12 a.m. It will be live streamed on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to register gitalife.in/ the link will be provided in the chat box by my friends. And yeah, so these are variety of competition. And please, you cannot take part physically by going to temple because of lockdown situation. So you can also participate by contributing for the service of Lord through the link which my friend will provide in chat box. Now those of you who wish to contribute for the service of Lord, please contribute. Also, this will also help us in reaching out to as many people as possible. You can send your generous contributions at the given link. So this was all for the announcements. And talking about the session, it was so wonderful that Prabhuji threw light on today's topic and made the solution more visible and clearer to us. What do you say, Tushar, about today's session? I hope you must have also enjoyed it thoroughly, as I did. Yeah, Tushar, are you able to hear me?
Hi,
yes.
Hi, Paras. Thank you very much, Paras, for giving this opportunity to give Samarth Krishna Prabhuji very nicely and explaining this thing of how to come out of this stress situation to comfort zone, to the smile. Very nicely, they give so many examples, so much videos, and scenario, and he has explained so much nicely. So I thank to His Grace Samarth Krishna Prabhuji for this wonderful session. I also, as Paras told, various announcement regarding our Janmashtami is coming on 11th and 12th. So I request all the participants, then you can also please participate for this Zoom Janmashtami. So we will, for that, for more info, you please go through the website gitalife.in. So there you will get the more info regarding this. And next time also we are going to start the session, one more course, which will take us to the higher level. So kindly be in touch with us. And thank you to all of you.
Thank you all for joining. We will meet again next session next weekend. Thanks again to everyone.
Yeah, next. Yeah, sure.
And all the
Sure.
details
Thank
about
you.
Janmashtami and other things which are upcoming, we'll be sharing a mail over mail to you. So that. Thank you, everyone.